Greetings, friends. You are on Daler Eagle channel, and today we are going to discuss the situation in Ukraine for February 23, 2025. A lot of significant events happened today, so let's get to the details. There is a slight advance in the Kupiansky pocket on the eastern edge. This information is provided by various pro-Russian sources, while the Ukrainian side is silent on this matter. Next we move with you to the most important direction, the Seversky section of the front. A rather long video was published today, which lasts 5 minutes and 31 seconds. The video was published by the Russian side, and on these frames we can observe a dozen flags of the Russian Federation raised in different parts of the settlement. Based on this footage, without exception, almost all mapping services, military experts, including pro-Ukrainian ones, admit that the hostilities for the settlement of Belagorovka ended in favor of the Russian Federation on February 23, 2025. If we talk about the fighting for Bialohorovka, then, comparing the battle for this settlement with other battles that took place during the special military operation, we can say that it was the longest. The fighting for Belagorovka began from the very beginning of the special operation, when Russian units managed to reach the Seversky Donetsk River. During the fighting for Lysychansk and Severodonetsk agglomeration, Russian troops were able to enter the territory of Belagorovka in August 2022, which soon came under the full and confident control of the Russian army. However, during the Ukrainian Kharkiv counteroffensive, Ukrainian formations managed to dislodge Russian units from the territory of Belagorovka, and since then Russia has made numerous attempts to regain control of the settlement. These attempts, however, have not been successful. In 2024, there were several reports, including official statements by the Russian Ministry of Defense, that Belagorovka was once again under the control of Russian forces. However, these reports later turned out to be not entirely accurate. I recall that there were command investigations, as a result of which some commanders were removed from their posts. Today there is already final footage confirming the confident presence of Russian formations on this section of the front. Apparently, the fall of Belagorovka became possible after the fall of the eastern part of Verkhin-Kamenskoye. After Russian units began to advance from south to north, Belaya Gora was taken, and Russian troops entered the southeastern part of Belagorovka virtually unopposed. The defenses on this section of the front collapsed. Yesterday, February 22nd, and today, February 23rd, footage was published confirming the advance of Russian troops and final control over Belagorovka. It is now safe to say that the territory of Belagorovka, including Serebryanka and Verkhin-Kamenskoye, is unlikely to be held by the AFU for long. I would like to remind you that a few days ago the Chief of the General Staff, Valery Gerasimov, visited the area of responsibility of the headquarters of the grouping of troops south, which is responsible for this direction. He familiarized himself with the reports and probably gave the latest instructions. Apparently, these instructions are related to the battle for Seversk and the third battle for Lyman. We'll see how this story ends, but in any case, the pace of Russian troop advances will accelerate. Next we are moving with you towards the Torets direction, where there have been no serious developments over the past 24 hours. Artillerymen are working and a bridgehead is being prepared for a possible offensive towards Konstantinovka. This section of the front is a border frontier. On the one hand the grouping of troops center is advancing, and on the other hand, the grouping of troops south in the Pokrovsk direction. Here the front lines have stabilized and neither side can seize full initiative. The Ukrainian side is conducting counterattacks, while the Russian army continues to defend itself and is gradually moving towards the border with the Dnipro region. Today, objective control footage was published between the settlements of Nadezhdinka and Serebryanka. This footage shows a large number of episodes of Ukrainian drone strikes on the forward positions of the Russian army. In one of the episodes, there was a collision near the intersection of forest belts, which is confirmed by the video. All of these territories were previously considered by us to be disputed, as some cartographers had long reported a complete sweep of the Novoandrievka settlement. However, according to most cartographers and objective control personnel, Novoandrievka has long been under the firm control of Russian units. It is possible that additional mop-up operations were underway, and only today were these activities completed. Next we are moving with you towards Constantinople, to the Bogatyrsky direction. Let's start with the village of Ulikli. Today, Ukrainian sources are still slightly labeling Ulikli as disputed territory, despite the fact that the Russian side has long claimed confident control over this settlement. This information has been confirmed by both the Russian Ministry of Defense and objective control footage. The Ukrainian side continues to resist and still shows Ulikli as a gray zone or disputed territory on its maps. It is possible that there are still scattered groups of the AFU in the territory of the settlement trying to break out of the encirclement at night. But in any case, this story will soon come to an end. Of interest, it is worth noting the information received along the Alexievka-Andriivka line. Various cartographers began to inform pro-Russian sources that Russian formations managed to occupy the easternmost outskirts of Alexievka over the past 24 hours, which marked the beginning of the battle for this settlement and for the final part of the Bogatyrsky direction. If the information about the breakthrough of the Russian units is confirmed, it certainly does not bode well for the Ukrainian troops located in the Bogatyr, Roslav, Constantinople triangle. Next, we move with you to the Velikanovo-Sialkov direction, from where quite a lot of geolocations and adjustments along the front line are coming in. Let's start with the Dnieper River. The settlement located along the Mokry-Yili River, today the 110th Brigade of the Armed Forces of Ukraine published footage of another assault by Russian formations towards this settlement. We see a large amount of equipment that the Russian side has engaged in the offensive. Ukrainian formations began to strike the Russian units with artillery and drones. However, most of the Russian equipment managed to break through the defense and reach some forest belts. This video also contains a large number of geolocations. One of the episodes took place in this very point. Based on the footage published by the Ukrainian side, we can say that the front line continues to move and the resistance is becoming less and less significant. The measures to encircle the Ukrainian formations located in the former stronghold northwest of Velika Novosayolka are also continuing. Over the past 24 hours, there has been a significant advance of Russian troops from both the east and the west. This information has been confirmed by both Ukrainian and neutral mapping services. Currently, there are significant forces of Ukrainian units in this SAC, which are gradually being pinched from both the east and the west. Next we move on to the Zaporizhia section of the front. Here, on the whole, there are no changes. Drone strikes continue and Iskander missiles are being used. Ukrainian units are gradually being destroyed. We are now moving to the southern section of the front, towards the populated areas of Kherson and Odessa. Today the Russian side, according to Ukrainian sources, launched a powerful strike using a huge number of drones. The Ministry of Defense of Ukraine reports that over the past 24 hours the Russian side used up to 267 drones of the Shahid type, of which only 138 managed to shoot down, and 119 disappeared without causing damage. In other words, they were essentially decoys whose purpose was to create mass explosions. The strikes targeted both energy infrastructure facilities and warehouses and industrial centers used by Ukraine for the production of military equipment. According to a large number of Western experts, the Russian army will raise the issue of Odessa and Kherson as one of the conditions for a future peace deal between Ukraine and the Russian Federation. And, apparently, the Russian side is still planning to fight for these two settlements. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to the channel. Put likes. Have a nice day.